I don't think that AI literacy is different from information literacy. I think that people need to spend time developing the skills of locating information sources in the information landscape and going through the process of having a question and refining it and seeing how the different sources speak to the question, and also developing a strong norm of, if I don't know where the source is, then I am not going to rely on that. And I think that would be sort of the core of it. And then I think there's also some really interesting stuff to be done around interrogating how these technologies are produced, and raising the next generation of students to look at something not as just a thing that exists in the world, but as the result of some process that involved people in many stages.
I would also say, just to add on to that in terms of thinking about it, I think there's a dangerous discourse in terms of framing kind of access to AI as a deficit, and saying that like one group of students is not going to have access to this, and so they're going to miss on learning opportunities. I think the opposite's kind of happening, given that there's such a proliferation of large language models in education, and it's being often used because students are under immense pressure for grades, testing, or whatever. There's kind of a way in which there's a shortcut to critical thinking, right? So it's almost the opposite of what's being described, and it's pretty pernicious. And we've getting, on one hand, on one hand, we're saying like administrators, when it came onto the scene, were like, what is this? We're not sure what to do with this. Maybe treat it as cheating, which, let me be clear, don't treat it as cheating. Treat it as a learning opportunity, I would say, because I think treating it as cheating often puts the onus on the student to then like prove their innocence. There was this horrible article about students turning to keyloggers so that they show that they weren't using AI, so doing self-surveillance is this kind of a nightmare scenario. And no one enjoys being here, but I think it is kind of the onus is on the instructor to have a learning environment in which it's sort of like about information literacy writ large.